Awesome. All right, we'll get started. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Aziz Khan. I'm a Senior Director of Product at Automation Anywhere. Today, we have a really exciting session for you. We're going to talk about agentic process automation and orchestration. And we're going to cover some of the same things that you heard in our morning session in terms of the new innovations. And then we'll bring on one of our key customers, Cargill, and they're going to talk about how they have taken advantage of some of those new innovations and have actually driven quite a lot of value for their organization. So let me start by going through our safe harbor. So you guys have all seen this, right? So this is, in the course of this discussion, you're going to hear me talk about some forward-looking features and capabilities in our roadmap. So as you hear some of those things, just keep in mind that roadmaps do change. And as you make your purchasing decision, keep that in mind. So let me start by highlighting some of the key announcements that we heard from Mihir and Adi this morning. And as they talked about agentic process automation, what exactly that is, right? So it's really an advanced automation framework that orchestrates teams of bots, API, AI agents, automation, and people, for example. Now, in and of itself, some of these elements are not necessarily new to you, right? As automation practitioners, you've used RPA, you've used API, you've used our Doc Auto, lots of other things that you see on this slide. What's really new and novel is the fact that all of this is now enriched by the process reasoning engine. It's all Gen AI infused. And what you get with AI agents today is something very novel, right? Agents can actually reason and think. And that's really the magic of all of this. It can actually take a goal, it can break it down like you and I do in terms of solving a problem, and it can actually orchestrate actions to go and achieve that goal, right? And that's really fantastic. And that is the recipe to the autonomous enterprise that Adi and Mihir talked about, the promise of the autonomous enterprise. And it all starts with the automation system that Adi talked about. On the foundation, you've got your RPA, you've got your API, you've got cloud services, which we launched last year. You've got all the tools around security and governance, and thousands of integrations that we built over time to connect to different applications that power your automation. On top of that, you have the agentic system, right? And these are document agents, generative automation, self-healing agents, custom process engines, discovery agents. All of these things are powered by the process reasoning engine, which takes advantage of the millions of process metadata that we have within our automation system and actually be able to drive that value for you, as well as the orchestration engine. On top of that, you've got agentic solutions that we talked about this morning. So in this session, we're going to kind of talk about how some of these things come together, some of these innovations that we've talked about, how they're being taken advantage of by our customers, especially Cargill in this particular case, and they're going to talk about a few use cases where they have brought that to light. So with that, I'm going to transition to the real session. So let me introduce you to Alfonso Garbanzo from Cargill. He's joining us from Costa Rica. Made a long trip out here, so please give your hands for Alfonso.
Hello to everyone. My name is Alfonso Garbanzo, as Aziz mentioned, right? I'm from Costa Rica, and I'm working as the leader for the intelligent automation team at Cargill for manufacturing and supply chain. It's a pleasure to meet you guys.
Great. So Alfonso, tell us a little bit about Cargill in general, right? Not everybody knows what your business is. Can you give us a perspective of what Cargill does? Lots of exciting things to see here. 300 plus automations, $25 million in savings a year, And my favorite, 20,000 plus API tasks run every month. That's just awesome. So tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, Cargill is a company that has more than 150 years existing, right? We have not only agriculture, because usually people know us as the agricultural company, but we also have a huge food business. Also, we have animal nutrition, right? I mean, and other type of businesses. In food, we are basically protein, like chicken, beef, like turkey, and things like that. It says that Cargill, provides food for almost everybody in the world, right? Everybody have tried a product from Cargill.
You've taken a lot of advantage of some of the newer innovations that we have brought to market over the last 2 years and so on, right? And I think last year when you joined us here at Imagine, you talked about how you taken advantage of automation cloud service, or API tasks we call it, right? How you transitioned some of your automations from pretty much RPA driven to more API centric. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, this use case we presented last year, right? As you can see, this show like the journey that we had during the last probably 5 years with Automation Anywhere. If you see the first, we have the manual process. This is for trading. We have people that basically buy and sell grains at Cargill, and they were doing manually the work of creating the contracts, right? And it was basically a job that needs to expedite because, they need to buy it immediately or they need to sell it immediately, right? So the traders rely on people. They made calls or send emails to people, to operations and operations teams that create the contracts manually, right? So initially we automate the process with a simple taskbot, as we have in 5 years ago, right? It was working fine, but the lead time was not good enough, right? So we started looking out for opportunities to improve it. Then was when we start doing API and API tasks, right, to improve the process. And now with Copilot and API tasks, the process is much faster, right? Business is much happier. And now we are able to, to deal with these tradings faster as the business needed, right?
That's awesome. That's awesome. So let's kind of transition to what the topic today is, right? Agentic orchestration, right? Yeah. So what are some of the key drivers of agentic orchestration for you? How are you thinking about it? What's the driver behind it?
Yes, usually with the traditional automation, we have problems with complex business rules. Even with simple business rules, we have situations where make it complex because it's difficult to maintain, mostly in operations, right? And also in the past, we have use cases that was impossible with automation, right? Like, for example, on unstructured data, right? It was impossible to automate at that moment, right? Now with agentic, it opened a huge, set of possibilities, and that's what we're trying to take, right?
Right. So you've got some really exciting use cases, so let's kind of dive into some of these. So the first one you've got is about email archiving. So that sounds pretty simple to me. Why is that complex for you guys? And how does agentic come into play in this particular use case?
Yeah, it's a simple use case, but Cargill is complex. Cargill has presence in more than 120 countries, and we have processes that are across enterprises and also across different teams, right? So the archiving process usually is simple, as you mentioned, right? Is we have contracts or we have emails, certain emails that we need to archive and we need to retain for a certain time, and we're using OpenText to do that. In past, we create around 15 different bots to archives, and you might say, why 15 bots? It's because each country has their own rules on how to archive those processes or contracts or whatever we are archiving, right? And we were doing this bot by bot, creating the business rules, but this is a nightmare in support, right? So now with Agentic, what we are doing is 2 things. First, we are giving to the business the possibility to manage the intelligence. So we are trying to manage like a hybrid type of model where business manage the intelligence, and then IT creates the integrations, basically, okay? So the bot, as you see in the diagram, the first bot, just take the email, right? Based on some rules that we have in the AI agent categorization, we know to which of the intelligence to send, depending on the country, depending on the subject, depending on the type of document. We have different AI agents. We send a document to this AI agent, and we just ask, hey, I received these emails. Tell me where to send it. And he replied back with a path where we need to basically archive the document, and we archive the document. We are passing from 15 bots, right, different bots, to one bot, but we are creating multiple intelligence, each for each team, each country, based on whatever they have. In past, we have these bots, right, as I mentioned, with hard-coded rules, business rules. In support, usually happen that when the business need to change something logic. For example, now they change the structure of the folder or something. The people from support try to fix it, or not fix it, to change it, to enhance it. And what happens is that they sometimes break it because they have multiple rules, multiple loops inside the code. When they try to add a new rule or change it, they ended up breaking something that was working. Right now, with this model, we give the intelligence to the business. The business is able to make the changes by themselves. They can test it in the chat. We're using enterprise knowledge, so they can test it. Once business is sure, the intelligence understand what are the business rules, they let us know, we put it in production, and that's it. So we are basically giving to the business intelligence, and we are keeping the integrations and the development of the code to IT. So that's why we call it like a hybrid model.
So the maintenance of all those bots you had in the past, that kind of goes away.
That's going to go away because we're implementing this process. We are implementing for the first, we already implement one. We are working now to scale. Mm-hmm. And the idea, as I mentioned, is pass from 15 bots to one, right? One bot with multiple intelligence.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Wow, this is amazing. 50,000 emails a month, right?
Yes, as I mentioned, it's a simple...
100,000 hours saved. That's pretty fantastic.
It's a simple process, but it's really high intensity.
Yeah. This is great. Let's talk about order processing. Well, this has the potential for huge savings for your company. Tell us about it.
Yes, as I mentioned, Cargill is complex. The same for order management. We don't have one order management process. We have thousands of order management processes at Cargill, right? And one of the main issues that we have is we have different customers from big enterprises to small farmers or small shops, right? So for some people, they don't like to have, or they don't have the possibilities of the technology to integrate with EDI or other technologies for order management, and they are used to it to just send an email, right? They send an email saying, hey, please send me more chicken, right? And usually the customer representative, he knows that customer, knows the context, and know that this guy always asks for, for 5 kilograms of chicken, right? They know because they know by context. So now what we are doing is using agentic automation, right? First to read the email, and then a structured email from the customers, and offering to the customer's service representative basically the information that is going in this email based on the context that we have received. They can review it, of course, because some of these emails are really vague, right? It's difficult even for us to understand what the customer is asking. But at least in many cases, right, based on the context, based on the information that we receive, we are capable to understand, okay, yes, this person needs this product by this day, right? Also in this specific automation, we are validating against, our inventories to make sure that we have, the inventory for that. And also we're looking at the master data we confirm with everything. So when we present to the customer representative, they have basically most of the information that they need to click, say, yes, this is what they need, and it go directly to the systems. Right?
It's amazing. So you've done a few of these implementations already. So what are some of the lessons learned that you would want to share with the audience as they are sort of jumping in this foray as well?
Yeah, maybe first to talk with your sales representative or your team at Automation Anywhere. It is important, mostly if it is the first time that you do it, so you can understand how to use it, right? What are the best practices on when creating a agentic, because it's straightforward, but you need to know certain things before implementing. So I believe that's the main advice. And the other one is, you need to know that sometimes for security and legal, implementing agentic is, like a red flag, right? They are always scared. So do it with time. Try to put on board your security team sometime and legal team sometime, so they understand what you are trying to do, how you are going to manage the data, right? something good about, for example, enterprise knowledge is that you can mask sensitive data. I mean, people like a lot that. The security teams likes that, right? That you can mask it. But I believe that's maybe my advices, yeah.
Yeah. So what I really like working with Alfonso is he takes advantage of some of our latest innovations very quickly. And he's very good at giving us feedback and making these solutions robust. So let me ask you the other way around. What do you like about Automation Anywhere? What do you like about working with us?
No, I like the support that I received from you guys, from sales team, with JB and you, right? All the support that I receive. I mean, when we have issues, I just drop an email, I drop a WhatsApp. I say, hey, please help me, and you guys help me, so thank you very much for that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Alfonso, for some exciting stories. Any questions from the audience for Alfonso as we look at some of these use cases? Go ahead.
They're asking if this process was in production already. So I told them that this is in development, and that the other one, yes, is in production already. For the one from OpenText, it took us a while, but it was mostly because we wanted to create a use case that we can scale in an easy way, right? So we started first with architecture, and that doesn't take long, but then we need to understand exactly what are the different type of business rules that we had in the 15 bots that we have today. So we navigate through all of those, trying to understand what are the rules and how we can create an automation that in future, in the future, when we onboard these bots, we can actually do it, right? So it took us a while just to figure out that part, but then once we figured out, it was easy. Now, I saw what the presentation from today's, right, on the, can you repeat again the new technology that was onboarded? I always forget the name.
Process reasoning engine.
Process reasoning engine. I was really excited because, for example, right now we have to do like all this logic on how we can implement this to scale, right? I see a huge opportunity with that new technology, right? To create the tools just to, to create a folder in OpenText, to upload a document in OpenText, to search for a folder in OpenText, create those tools and see if the engine can just figure out what they need to do, right? I would love to see how it will work in future. Yeah. Probably will reduce the time of development a lot. Yeah. He's asking, what about the red flags? What is the advice, maybe, for future implementation, right?
How did you work with the security team?
I mean, for me, I believe it's to onboard them as soon as possible, right? They will have a lot of questions. I mean, a couple of years ago, agentic was really new, right? So everybody was scared with the data, where it's going to go, right? And how they are going to protect it, right? And I believe that were fair questions, right? I believe now we're in the moment that we know those answers really well. Automation Anywhere, as I mentioned, they created a framework that is really secure. As I mentioned, for me, the masking is something that it will also help a lot, right? If we can mask the data before even send it to the models. So I believe that's part of the things that I would recommend that. I mean, onboard them as soon as possible, as soon as you know that you want to do something, because they might have a lot of questions, right? And there are some use cases that you might believe that you can do it, but when you talk with security, they said, hey, no, legal said that those use cases, no. In Cargill, we have certain use cases that they definitely say, for this type of use cases, we cannot do it. So we already know.
There's a question back there, or two.
For example, as I mentioned, for understanding the use case, usually it depends on the process, right? I mean, try to map the process, try to understand the business rules. That work, we need to do it all the time, and it depends on the complexity of the process. But just to give you an example, right? When doing the OpenText project, I changed architecture 3 times. I didn't develop the bot, it was my development team. But I saw the architecture, the proposal. They showed me the bot running in that architecture. I said, no, because this is not scalable, change it. They changed it 3 times. Each time that they change it in a matter of 1 day, 2 days. So it's really quick because what they are changing is basically the prompting, or where they are getting the information. So that's simple. So when you are changing things in the intelligence and in the architecture right now with Automation Anywhere, they are making it easier because they are creating a lot of components and a lot of things that make it easy. So the development aspect usually is not the one that takes a lot of time. Usually what takes time is, as I mentioned, like creating the diagram of the process, understanding the business rules, creating the test scenarios, and then testing. That's what takes a lot of time. But the actual development usually take 1 week. This is what it's taking right now. Sometimes I have seen, for example, we have a use case where we just open enterprise knowledge, that is where you can configure all the knowledge base, and we create a bot in a matter of hours with them, with the business, and that bot is now in piloting, right? I was like 2 hours creating, but it was a simple use case, right? That's why I was saying that it depends on the complexity of the use case. Sometimes it's really straightforward, you can do it in a couple of hours. Sometimes it's more complex, the volumes are high, so you need to plan also workload and others. They will take weeks, right? So it depends, yeah.
So is this completed in weeks?
Which one, sorry? This one? This one, development, yes. But for example, the full project take longer because for this one, I mean, we're talking about not only one process, it's multiple countries. This is a complex process. In my company, it's a really complex process, not because of the process itself, because of the company, yeah? And the business rules and all the people that we need to involve, time zones. We were talking with people from different time zones, so it's complex, yeah.
So multiple regions, multiple
Yes, correct.
automation teams. It takes a lot of collaboration.
And defining the scope, for example.
Yeah.
Something as simple as defining the scope and understanding the volumes that we have took us weeks, you know, and many conversations, many meetings. But that's why I was mentioning, sometimes the technical development is quick, right? Where the complexity is more on doing it right? Doing it in the right place, in the right moment, starting with the right pilot, right? Not just doing automation, right? We need to understand, okay, this is huge. We need to tackle in chunks, right? And what is the right chunk to start, right? And, you know. Yeah, I mean, the roll-up strategy, we will start with a couple of countries first, right? In this case, we're trying to first understand what would be the accuracy, because as you mentioned, I mean, this process, sometimes the emails doesn't have much information, as I mentioned. And sometimes there is a call before the email. Sometimes the sales representative, I don't know, has a call with the customer, and he said, yes, I will send the email tomorrow, and he sent it, right? So it's impossible intelligence to guess, right? So that's part of the thing, that the accuracy is, we haven't measured accuracy yet, right? We have estimations on that we will get, for example, at least 30% straightforward, but initially we will have everything going to a human to review it. And little by little, we will be seeing the accuracy, and if what cases we can send straightforward, and which one we will need to do maybe a manual review. Yeah. We are creating an interface for the user. Yeah, so they will receive. Basically, what is happening is they will have like a form with information that it was captured by the email. In this, they have also connections to our master data, our inventory, so they can look at it. And based on that, they can select it. Yes.
Question in the back?
The first use case, you mean? Okay, no, I will reply. Yeah, but in email, okay. I mean, we have a monitoring in place. We put a monitoring in place based on the audit logs from Automation Anywhere, right? So we take those logs and we generate incidents to our support team. We have an automation for creating incidents right now. Yeah. Now I'm working with my team because Automation Anywhere released a new operations dashboard, and we are exploring that one now. But usually what we receive is an incident. We use a ticketing tool, right? So once there is an incident, immediately it creates a ticket for us. We have 21 people, FTEs working on support, content support, we call it. Yeah. OpenAI.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah. What type of LLM are you using here? Are you using custom LLMs to do classification and all that?
OpenAI. We're using.
OpenAI, okay, got it. Okay, thank you.
On the first use case, have you seen the model get better?
The first use
Self-heal.
case is the one from traders, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. If I see improvement on self-healing?
Yeah, I'm looking at how does it, have you seen the success with the self-healing?
I think the first use case was really going from RPA to API. Right?
Yeah,
I
it
don't
was
think
more
there was
to
agentic
API
quite yet.
tasks. Yeah. We don't have self-healing yet.
Oh, you don't have that
No.
yet? Okay.
We're exploring that feature. I know that they're going to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what Jay is saying is that the interfaces won't change in the case of APA, so you don't
Yeah. necessarily
run into that.
Okay, yeah, because in that use case, what we have is that, the user interface was changing a lot for the ERP that we have. This is an old legacy ERP that Cargill has. And the problem that we have a lot of incidents because of changes in the interface. When we move it to API, then we don't have interface, so no more incident there. I got your question, sorry. Yeah. No, because in the other one, the second, the first one is just to classify because there are different type of orders. We have, for example, a new order, we have change orders, and we have claims. All those are coming to the same mailbox. So it's via agentic. Yeah, because he is getting the context, right? For example, if you have a customer that always asks for the same products, or so he knows, okay, this customer is always asking me for this, so if I'm not clear on the product, I will put this as a default, so the customer representative can review it. Both to use OpenAI, but it's different agents. Okay.
Great. I think we got running out of time here a little bit. Alfonso, thank you so much for your insightful use cases. I want to conclude by giving you a little bit of glimpses to some of the roadmap highlights that are coming up around some of these pieces. So with that, let's take a quick look at what's coming up, so in product innovations, right? So let's talk about Automation Cloud Service. This is API task, right? So this is what Alfonso talked about in his initial use cases and how it carried over to some of the other use cases that he has talked about. So Automation Cloud Service was generally available or made available last year, right? So this is really about how you can actually take your automation serverless, right? Essentially have them run in the cloud so you don't necessarily have to use your bot runners and reduce your maintenance, right? And the other thing that you get with Automation Cloud Service is low latency automations. So as you explore some of these agentic use cases where agents are actually interacting with applications and essentially reasoning and thinking and actually carrying things out, low latency is actually pretty important, right? So this is where Automation Cloud Service can actually be very beneficial to you. It's tied up with Automation Copilot, so for those conversational interfaces and so on, Automation Cloud Service can actually be very, very helpful. It's publicly GA now, so you guys can use it today. So any Automation Anywhere cloud customer actually gets entitlement to this by default. So you'll get some level of executions that are available to you, and then you can purchase more to go into production. It is now also coming to preview for private cloud. For those customers of ours that are on-premise, this is something you can try out, right? So this is coming into preview soon. So if you're interested, get in touch with me. We'll get you involved in the preview. Essentially what we're doing is we are taking the infrastructure for Automation Cloud Service that runs in our cloud and giving you the option to actually build that out in your own private cloud infrastructure, if you will, right? So you can thereby take advantage of the same low latency types of automations within your own sort of bound, environment that's guarded and bounded by you. The next thing is agentic orchestration, right? So this is a pretty important area for us. Lots of innovations going in here over the coming year. So the first thing you're going to see is support for BPMN, right, and process templates. So you'll be able to get up and start running with your processes much more quicker. You're going to be able to orchestrate AI agents and bots and APIs and teams in a much more efficient way within the context of our process composer today. You'll have real-time monitoring and dashboards and analytics that'll give you a better perspective on how your automation is performing and where the bottlenecks are and how you remedy some of those things. You'll get the ability to do event-driven automations, right? So a lot of automations, in fact, Alfonso talked about some of these where these are, email-driven, right? An external event occurs, and that essentially starts your automation process. We're going to have that capability in our process orchestration as well. In the future, you're going to see parallel processing of processes in general, and so on. And multi-agent orchestration will come in the future, in the second half. So lots of exciting stuff, so stay tuned. And if you have, if you're interested in more information, get in touch with me, and we can have a detailed session on some of these things. The other thing, I think, if you were in the session before, is Automation Copilot and how it's conversational now with the integration of Amazon Q business, right? So this is, taking the best of both worlds, our automation copilot and the power of Amazon Q business, being able to take advantage of not only our own proprietary, process reasoning engine, but also the Amazon Q RAG and the infrastructure, and be able to give you that conversational interface to interact more easily with your business data and be able to take actions. This has gone through preview, if I'm not mistaken, Shane, and we are going GA in the summer. Awesome. So that gives you kind of a flavor for what's coming up next. If you've got any questions, I'm here to take them. I think we have a few more minutes.
That extensibility.
So extensibility of our own Copilot with, yeah, Shane. Here's the PM for our automation Copilot.
Great question.
We are integrating using Automation Anywhere, right? With the, I didn't get the question. I mean,
So I think when he was going over the use case, he talked about multiple agents in the context of doing different things, right? You have a classification agent, for example, that was looking through emails and figuring out. And then there were some other agents that were doing some other things in the context, right? So I think his question is, how is the orchestration being managed?
We can take it offline. My question isn't about agent to agent. That's a separate discussion.
Okay.
My question is more about, you have an orchestration layer, and that orchestration layer had a previous version that did not let you plug in agents, or if it did, I guess it was agents as an API task. Now you have the ability to go and say, point to an agent and just plug it in, but that's not released yet. And
That's
so
right.
Are they just working with a pre-release version of the technology as part of the development, or how are they facilitating that today?
So you're using an AI skill in the context of.
we're using AI skills,
Yes.
and we are connecting through APIs, with the
Yes.
APIs. Yeah.
So this will get innovated as Agent Studio comes live in GA.
It would be better with Agent Studio, but right now we use the APIs.
Great. All right. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for your participation. And thank you, Alfonso, for some great insights into how you guys are driving real transformation in your business. And enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you.